So there's one thing that's nearly guaranteed every time we get close to the holidays: leftovers. Lots and lots of leftovers. People start going to work with turkey sandwiches with dressing and cranberry sauce on them. Everybody and their brother has made some kind of a soup. If there's a leftover ham, it finds its way into scalloped potatoes and all kinds of things. But let's do a little bit more fun twist on using some leftovers. Are you ready? So you're probably looking at this saying, okay, seriously, I'm not sure what you're gonna do with leftovers and a food processor and flour, but at least you're interested, right? So I did mention in our previous episode, we're gonna start using some kitchen electrics. Maybe you have them, maybe you don't. Maybe this is on your wish list this year. Me personally, just so you know, I pick one that's got a very big wide mouth up on the top. It's great for if you want to grate cheeses and send some large vegetables through and not have to do as much knife work and prep work. So when I say big mouth, I mean you can fit just about anything through that. So bear that in mind when you go look for a food processor. And also if you shop on a lot of those online only stores, be very, very careful in reading the reviews. And the reason I say that is because some people will just put these silly reviews on there just to get their name on there. And it has nothing to do with the product they're even talking about. Or it's a bot and it's just loading a bunch of them. So look on websites that you know and trust. Maybe even go into stores and talk to people. That's always a great way to find out how things work. This has been an absolute champion for me for probably about 4 years. And I swear we only paid like $40 for it. So keep that in mind. Okay, so on to the food. So what I've decided is I want to go ahead and make a quiche. Yes, quiche. Remember from the 80s, quiche Lorraine? It was like at every fancy little breakfast and brunch. But think about all the leftovers you're going to have. You might have ham, chicken, turkey, a variety of vegetables. Realistically, you put some cheese and some eggs with it and boom, you've got a quiche. So we're going to put this together. So I've got my flour already measured out. And I've got salt and sugar. And we're just going to go ahead and pulse that real quick. Helps if I know how to put this on, right? And you might be thinking, why are you pulsing that? Because once we add anything that's going to bind, we don't want the salt and the sugar to land in one spot and stick to something. So keep that in mind. You always want to blend your dry ingredients first. And speaking of dry ingredients, I do want to cover one thing that's super important, and I've mentioned this before. Whenever you're measuring out your dry ingredients, let's just say you need a half a cup. Is that a half a cup? No. Okay, so you're gonna go ahead and hold this over here, get your knife, start in the middle and go out. Why do I start in the middle? Because I wanna fill both sides. And then once you get to one edge, just drive it back and forth until it's this nice, smooth top. See that? Now that would be a perfect half cup. Very important in baking. You cannot make mistakes and mismeasure. You have to be on the spot. Oh, still need that knife. Okay, so now ice cold butter. I mean, take this out of the refrigerator the minute you're going to use it. I also have ice cold water over here. How do you keep your ice cold water ice cold? Well, either leave it in the refrigerator or put an ice cube in it. It's 2 tablespoons of water. Just take your tablespoon, put the ice cube in it, run the water on it, and boom, there you go. So we're just gonna go ahead, shut this up. Hey, guess what? That big mouth. I don't have to think about how to put them in. I just put them in. All right, now we're doing it. So what we're waiting for is this to get pea-shaped. You're not going to be able to see it as well from there, but bear with me, it's coming. Okay, so now it's very granular and larger pieces, almost like peas. So now we're going to add our water. And I'm pulsing because I don't want to create friction and heat. That's just going to melt the butter, it's going to warm everything up, and it's not going to get the result I'm looking for. Okay, I've been pulsing here over the last 30 or 40 seconds. I didn't leave it running because there was no point in showing you that, but if you look through here, you can actually see this has a big crumbled cheese kind of appearance to it, so we're getting close. And now the chunks get bigger and bigger and bigger. See how it's moving around now? Very different look. All right, so just so you can see the fun, give you a better view here. Because what it's gonna do is within seconds, it's gonna start sticking together. Look at that. Pull out the blade. At this point, it's like dough, because it's dough. Just start picking up all your pieces. Just work the dough a little bit. The key is you don't want to warm it up. So it's nice that the house is cool, it's morning, got a cool countertop. Work the dough a little bit just to make sure it's nice and smooth. And this is going to be about it. Seems simple enough, right? All right. Beautiful. So all I'm going to do now is take this pretty dough ball, put it in some plastic wrap, drop it in the fridge for an hour, come back over here and start prepping some stuff to go in the quiche. We'll be back in just a second. So one thing is an absolute in our house. There's always going to be leftover chicken of some kind. So I've cubed it up here. I want to keep everything a uniform size. And since I've got some feta cheese over here about this big, I've cubed up my chicken about this big. Make sense? I also have some zucchini, which I cooked up the other night with some pan roasted cherry tomatoes and caramelized red onion. Delicious. So those are going to be a great addition. Always cook your vegetables first before you put them in a quiche. I know there's people out there that say, oh, it's going to cook while it's in there. If you put mushrooms or some lighter vegetables, they're going to float and it's going to look really awkward on top, and they don't always cook through. So just sweat them a little bit in the pan first, which is what I'm going to do with this spinach over here. I'm going to go ahead and put some bell pepper in there. This nice Holland bell pepper, orange, is going to really go well with all these colors because you really want it to be beautiful food too. But don't go out and spend $7 on feta cheese. Don't go out and buy a pound of bacon and render it just to get 2 or 3 pieces. Go to your local salad bar, put it in one of these little containers, and just make it cheap and easy for yourself, please. But a trick on bell peppers, they're always kind of funny because you see people cutting them in so many different ways. You want to take off all 4 sides, which is pretty easy. And then depending on the volume you're looking for, you may want to take off the bottom. But the idea is you get some very easy pieces to then turn around and cut up in the same sizes as that. I apologize, this board is bamboo, it's loud. But then, very simply, cut them into pieces, put them in a pan, sweat them down a little bit, and then they're going to go into this collection of vegetables and chicken and proteins, and we're going to start that quiche. So I'm going to go ahead and get these sauteed and come back. All right, I've got a lot of stuff on the counter here, and I don't want to get you too confused because, again, this is homemade easy, using leftovers. So I've pulled my dough out. That's solid. It's got a sheen on it because the butter is really well incorporated. Up here, I've got all kinds of other stuff, but just focus on this for right now, okay? So what I have is a piece of parchment paper. If you've ever measured parchment paper, it's definitely bigger than your pie pans. It's probably about 15, 16 inches, okay? So if we use this to roll out the dough and we get close to the edge, there is absolutely no way we don't have enough coverage for the pie pan. So keep that in mind. The parchment paper makes your life easy. So it likes to move around. I always turn it on a bias and then just sort of lean into it. All right, get a little bit of flour going and then put some off to the side. So the idea is we don't want to blow out the sides of the crust. So after I start mashing on it, I actually just work my way all the way around with my fingers to try and create an outer edge. Now, I will assure you that this thing will blow out a few times. But again, the idea being if you can create a nice edge and set it, then when you roll, it won't be as tough. So if you have this tucked into your hip here at the counter and roll away from you, it's not going to go anywhere. And then just turn and roll. So as those edges start to break up a little bit, you can kind of pause, tighten them up. Then turn and roll. This is my flour side, so you want to be cautious. Otherwise, you'll be wearing a lot more flour than you thought you would. All right, I've been turning and rolling for quite a while now, and if you look, we've got us a nice big crust. I'll put my pan over it. We've got more than enough coverage, as you can see. So there's several ways to make a pie crust. Do you pre-bake? Do you chill first? Do you put it in a pan with beans and rice on it? What do you do? Well, the one thing I will assure you is you always use your rolling pin to put it into the pan. That's irrefutable. This is what we do, okay? But from there, you can do a lot of different things. So this is what I'm going to show you. All right. what's the one thing you don't want to have on your pie crust? Is uneven baking on the bottom. So now, I've just given myself a perfect pie-shaped pie because I have a pie pan in it. What I'm going to do is put what I call baking beans in there. It's going to weigh down this upper pan to keep it nice and even. These are going to absorb the heat of the oven, so it's going to cook still from both sides. I'm not over insulating it. As you probably know, aluminum does take a little bit of the heat off of it, so we're really going to be watching this to see probably 15 minutes. And then when we put our filling, we're going straight back into a 350-degree oven, so we're really playing to our favor here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and trim up these edges here a little bit with scissors. Kitchen shears, best thing in the world. If you're not comfortable with a knife running around the side, just go right around with your kitchen shears. And then I'm going to pinch the crust a little, and I'll let you see all of that. But it takes a couple seconds here, obviously, to cut all this excess off. So I'm just going to pause you for a minute, get that started, come right back. Now here's a quick tip. Don't throw away these trimmings. If you're making a dessert pie, you can actually cut out and make some nice little designs, put them on top. You can do lacing across the top like you've probably seen on cherry pie. But this is still good dough. If you're making another pie, hang on to it, because then as you go 1, 2, 3 pies in, you're gonna have a lot extra. You could probably make an additional pie just by trimming this off of a couple. So what I've done is I've left enough extra around here to basically start a little edge. And the oven is up to temp. So I'm just going to pull this out, make sure everything is tucked down nicely, and then just roll it under itself. I don't want the cut edge to be exposed. I want to show off a nice, pretty, rolled edge. See, so I roll under and then sit it down. Under, sit it down. Look how pretty. Isn't that great? Nice edge all the way around. Tucked in perfectly. Nothing is greased because we don't want to have a greasy pie crust. It's already got butter in it, so it's got fat. Don't worry about it. Now, put this back in, press on it just a little bit, and what it's going to do is now it's going to set that crust into the lip, just like this one, and give it just a really good, almost machining-like shape to it. You and I both know you made this crust. Everybody is asleep upstairs because it might be Black Friday and they're all back from shopping and you're like, oh, I'm gonna make something with that turkey. They have no idea. So now, I'm just gonna go ahead and put in my baking beans. So baking beans are whatever's on sale at the store. Shoot for 99 cents a pound stuff because you're just gonna be throwing these in pans and throwing them in the oven. So 350 degrees, 15 minutes. We should be in great shape at that point. Gets nice, light, flaky. Doesn't have big pockets of air pushing it out from the edge, so you get a nice crust when you cut it up. Then we're gonna go ahead and get all of our stuff added to the inside, put it back into that oven, and we're gonna have some quiche here in just a bit. I'll be right back. Okay, pie crust is out, it's 15 minutes. Leaving the oven on at 350 because we're going back in just a little bit. This is still pretty hot. I'm used to it, but please, please, please use pot holders, do something wise, whatever you need to do to make sure you can pick this up, because now these beans need to go into a bowl to cool off, to go back in the bag to wait for the next pie. So we're just gonna go ahead, pour those babies off, get that last one, and then ever so gently, use a butter knife if you need to, just separate your pie pans. Look at that thing, isn't that beautiful? So now we're gonna go ahead and get some stuff ready to go inside of it. So what I've got here is egg whites from 8 eggs. Again, if you're going for easy, go ahead and buy the container at the store, save yourself some headache. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put in about 1/4 cup of light cream. Now, if you're using whole eggs with the yolks, you may go with a little bit less cream because it really just, the fat from the yolk is gonna take care of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and blend this up. We want something that's gonna be creamy. So the cream with the egg whites is a big deal. I'm gonna go ahead and salt and pepper, because if you think, we've got some seasoning on some of the ingredients we're gonna put in there, depending on if you did like Cajun turkey, you're gonna have a lot of seasoning. But egg whites, as a standalone, are super bland. And the one thing in this quiche is they're going everywhere. There may be pockets of different ingredients in different places, but the egg white will be in every part of every place. All right, now something else I'm gonna do is just add a little bit of parsley here, because again, that egg white goes everywhere. I want there to be some color everywhere. So once this is incorporated nicely, as you can see, pretty simple. Then I'm gonna start layering in my ingredients. So, get you out of the way, pull you back here. Okay, so with the sauteed spinach, let me just tell you, always put in 3 times the amount that you think you need because it comes down to that. I mean, I started with a knot about that big. All right, so I'm gonna put the chicken in the bottom. Yes, it's a heavy item, it's gonna fall down there on its own, but the idea is if we can kind of create layers of flavor, then as you get to different parts in the same bite, you'll have some cool flavors. I'm gonna leave a little bit behind. And we're gonna go ahead and get these peppers in here, because those look really nice. And we can always put more back on. I'm just trying to make sure I get a nice even amount of everything first. All right. Go back and forth between the roasted tomatoes and the zucchini and onions. There's a lot going on here. And you could make this a pretty dense quiche and have a lot of this in there because, I mean, in essence, it's a meal. They used to serve it with a salad. So this was, you know, the main and the sides. Okay, so now I've got the bacon and the feta. I'm gonna start putting that around in here. Yeah, we're gonna keep going with those. Can never have enough bacon and feta, I'm sorry. And because those are towards the top, they're gonna float and move around a little bit with our friend, the egg whites. So the last one I'm putting on is the spinach, because this will kind of show up in the finished product up at the top. And I just think that gives it a nice green hue. Some of the peppers will kind of float up. The bacon will be up there with it. And again, those traditional quiches, you know, had a lot of spinach and green in them and things like that, which you can add thyme, you can add parsley, you can add basil if you're going with an Italian flair. It's whatever you want. Okay, so before we go in the oven, this is what we look like. It's kind of cool. I'm actually looking forward to this. And then we're gonna go ahead and pour. So pour slow and even, because you do want it to get down into every little aspect, between all the chicken, between all of the peppers. Just fill all the voids. But we don't want to overfill, simply because then we're going to have an overflow. Now the chicken being left over is going to probably absorb some of the liquid, which will be nice. That is really a great way to reheat something, a protein. Heck, if you had some leftover salmon and it had a really great flavor to it, that would be a fun thing to add in here too, like a cedar plank salmon or something to that nature. Okay, so there it is, ready to go in the oven. I'll see you back here in about 30 minutes. That'll be my first check. It could take up to 45, so don't get too antsy now. We're gonna be eating soon, but not yet, okay? I'll see you in 30. Halfway through our cook time. Okay, I've got 3 minutes left on the clock. Don't always assume that the timer is the timer, because ovens cook differently. The density of what's in there cooks differently. So I've got a toothpick ready. We're gonna go ahead and give it a check. Actually, as I pull it out, I can see it's still a little bit loose on top. But what you're doing is you're putting it into the middle, because that's gonna cook last. And if it comes out dry, you're good. It's still wet. We're gonna go those 3 minutes and maybe even a few more. All right, home cook, so there she is. Isn't it beautiful? Let me get it up nice and close to you. Take a look at that. So what you see is the volume went up a little bit as everything cooked. The crust, just light golden brown, shrunk a little bit, but stayed in perfect shape. We've got a nice speckling of the bacon. You can see the parsley laced through the eggs, which is exactly what we wanted. The spinach is featured on top, so it's got that classic look, even though it's not a classic quiche. This is it right here. It's almost brunch o'clock. It is go time. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you tag the Bearded Home Cook in any of your attempts to cook any of our dishes. We always love to keep up with you guys on the social media channels. Tell your friends, invite them over, make them a quiche. A little confession here, I've never made a quiche before. I did this for you. I had somebody say, hey, make something savory. I was gonna do a sweet potato pie. I still might, but this was something that was really fun to make. It's really easy to do. Great use for leftovers. I'm telling you, stop throwing that stuff away. Put it to use, put it into a pie shell. Heck, I mean, make arancini with leftover fried rice. Maybe that'll be an episode. That'll be fun. But either way, enjoy your quiche, enjoy your day, have a great time. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Hey, slow down, slow down. If you look down here, there's actually some time left, and I've got a bonus hack for you that's gonna help you actually use this same pie crust
to make a sweet potato pie, because again, here in the South, that is something we really enjoy at the holidays. So the hack is, how do you steam sweet potatoes quickly and effectively? Because throwing them in the oven for 45 minutes to an hour is really not a great idea. So if you're doing one sweet potato, you're probably going to cook it for about 6 minutes. The recipe I'm going to show you takes 3. You're probably going to go about 9 minutes. So medium-sized sweet potatoes. The best way to explain it to you is the half of a paper towel will just go edge to edge on it. So this is a wet paper towel, and I mean wet. Soak this sucker. Then I've got some plastic wrap here. I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this puppy up. Into the microwave, 3 minutes, flip it over, 3 minutes. Again, if I'm doing 3 potatoes, I'm gonna go 3 more minutes on yet the other side one more time. But you're gonna have a perfectly cooked, extremely moist sweet potato. Just please don't grab it with your bare hands when you're taking it out of the microwave or you're flipping it over. Give it time to rest, give it time to cool, especially as you're going into your sweet potato batter mix for your sweet potato pie. You don't want it to be so hot that it starts cooking all the other ingredients. So give it some time to cool on the counter while you make your dough and do all your other stuff. But 3 minutes, and if you're doing all 3 for this recipe, 3 minutes back again, you'll love this. All right, now it's time to see the other stuff. Here it is. So sweet potato pie, pretty popular thing down here in the South, much more so than pumpkin pie, which is what I grew up on. A lot less sweet, but it's got so much going on because of the sweet potatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and get my butter and sugar started, creaming. So we're going to allow those to kind of beat together for a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of eggs added here. 2 eggs. Not over easy. Turn that up a little. All right, now because this thing has got some age on it, I'm just going to go ahead and work the sides down. I'd probably do this anyway, even if it was brand new, just because I don't want to leave any goodness anywhere but down in the mixture. Adding some evaporated milk. All right, so spice-wise, let's look here. What do we want to add? Let's put in some cinnamon. I want to get all the spices into the liquid so that when I add the sweet potato, we don't have pockets of cinnamon bite or nutmeg bite or anything like that. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So I steam my sweet potatoes, so this way they don't dry out. I know baking them is the common thing, and that's kind of where this all comes from, is you bake them, you have extra, you can make a sweet potato pie, you can do whatever you want. I steam them because then they stay super moist, soft, skin comes off pretty easy. I mean, super soft. Still a little warm. I'm just gonna slowly let that start working its way in. I'm gonna show you what we got here. I'm gonna put some wrap over it, and then we're gonna wait for our shell. We'll go ahead and start getting our filling in there. Look at the color of that filling. Is that not fall? Why do you think I'm wearing this shirt? Of course, if that stove were going off telling me that it was ready, I wouldn't be spending this much time goofing off and really just enjoying myself. We are done. I am super excited. Turn that off. Okay. Now let's try and get it out of here without making a mess of it. Oh yeah. I don't hate that. I really don't. I don't think you will either. I'm gonna cut you a slice, I promise. Just gonna set it over here, let it cool. All right, I promised you a picture, but I'm actually gonna give you a little video, because that, freaking perfect. Look at that crust. Look at that filling. But guess what? I'm gonna eat some. Oh man, nice snap through the bottom, which means it's cooked all the way through. Holding together nicely. I'm gonna be here for a few minutes. I'll see you later.